Oh, hey guys, didn't see you there. What's up everyone, it's Julian. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make Djoko style deep, minimal, micro house, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be talking about that today. And yeah, I'm going to be showing you guys not just what I've shown you before, which is of course, making cool chord stabs and bass lines and kicks and percussion and all that. I am going to be showing you that today, and I'm definitely taking it to the next level with this one, so it's going to be exciting. But also I'm going to be talking a little bit about build-ups in here, because I think it's important to not just talk about how to make an 8-bar loop, but also how it kind of fits in reference to a whole track. So yeah, as usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. Let's get started. So to start off with, we're at 132 BPM, so it's actually a bit faster. This works well for this style though, like with this more kind of like upbeat, busy, sort of like micro house style. It works really well to do the faster tempos. I think in a slower tempo this would work as well, but the faster tempo is what's really making these tracks stand out right now. So yeah, 132 BPM all day. First thing we have here would be the kick. So yeah, you can hear, just super nice, fat, punchy, 909 style kick, standard for this style. Something that you do want to notice though is like, it's not just a little like, it's a big, fat, boomy 909 with like a ton of low end, and then the high end does have a bit of like a to it, but you want that of course. But yeah, you just want to make sure it's actually like a very fat kick. You'd be surprised how fat the kicks are for this style. It's almost as big as some techno kicks I've heard. And then we just have a bit of drum bus on that, and then we have the bass line. So yeah, you can hear super simple bass line. It's just literally 4 notes here. We're in the key of C, so we've got C, and then F, which would be the 4th, G, which would be the 5th, and then A sharp, which is actually the minor 7th. So technically, we're in C minor. But yeah, so just a simple C minor bass line. But it's really groovy. And it still carries the track nicely. Yeah, and then so for the sound on this one is made with operator. You can see we actually aren't using any FM here. It's just this FM algorithm, which means everything is playing side by side as opposed to doing FM. So we just have a saw wave and then a sine wave on top of it to add a bit of fatness. I've got this low pass filter here with a bit of an envelope there. And then I just have some drum bus on the bass line to make it fatter. And then an EQ here, which is cutting out a bit of room for the kick. The kick is pretty boomy, so I made a pretty sharp cut here, but we still have all that low end coming through for the bass, which is really where the bass line is like mostly focused anyway. And then finally, that's just being sidechained to the kick a little bit. The sidechain is actually pretty important. You don't always want to do it in this style. It kind of depends on what notes your bass line is playing on. But if you have a bass like this, where it's like, bow, bow, like that's hitting right at the same time as the kick, it does make a big difference. Now, if you have a bass line that's like the kick hits and then the bass hits, and they're never hitting at the same time, you don't have to do it as much. But it helps because you can make the bass louder, essentially, by having this. Because it's not going to be, like, fighting as much with the kick. And then, so on the group of that, we just have a bit of saturation and some EQ here. So the saturation is just making everything a bit stronger. This without it. And then with it, you can really hear with it, the synergy between the kick and the bass is a lot stronger. Then we just have a low end boost, and then like you can see I'm cutting out a bit of mud here as well. And then it's actually a pretty sharp cut, but yeah, it really helps to kind of just get rid of some of that muddiness in the kick and bass and clean up the mix and make some headroom. And yeah, and then we have this high pass filter. So what this is doing is it's just for this break here. Because we have the kick and bass playing there. That's typically what you would do in this track. You might have a part in the break without this. Like this would be one moment. But this part's very important because it's going to keep the energy going into when everything drops. And then what's happening here is the high pass filter is just like set there and then it builds. And then it comes down right at the end. That's the secret. I learned that from listening to reference tracks. You kind of like build it up, and then the kick drops, and you have just a little bit of the bass line. And it's almost like it's saying, like, check out what's about to happen. Like, you're about to, like, witness something. And then you get that full, deep, powerful low end. So yeah, it's just kind of a tension builder. That's the point of that. And yeah, then we have the hi-hats. So basically, you can see it's like this main open hi-hat, which is layered with a shaker. So the shaker, you can hear that plays by itself in the break. And then we get the full hi-hat once it drops. And then you can hear the hi-hat is just like the shorter 909 hi-hat, you know, pretty standard, like what you would use in this type of track. You can hear it's very bright. It has a lot of high ends. And yeah, then when you layer them together, you get the high end from the hi-hat, but still that body and that fatness from the shaker. And yeah, then we just sort of have like our background hi-hats. You can hear a bit of call and response going on between those. And then we have this shaker loop. Just kind of like a smoother shaker, just adds something a bit more live to the groove. And something also that you'll notice here is with the arrangement, we have less stuff in the build than the drop. So that's another technique. You know, you could have like, you know, like you have the backup hi-hat and then just these two little ones. You could even just like do something like this where they go away. So it's like, okay, there's that groove, they're getting the groove, but then and then you get everything. So that's another thing that's really building tension there. And then on the group of hi-hats, we just have some drum bus, you know, to kind of beef them up, glues them all together, and gives them all kind of the same character. And then the EQ here, we're just cutting out the low end and boosting up some high end. And yeah, and then we have this percussion down here. So same deal with the percussion down here. You can see there is kind of like different layers playing in different parts. Like we have all this percussion happening. In the break and with the clap happening there as well. But then you get everything once it drops in. So the first thing is of course the clap. Very standard minimal house clap there. Then we have these percussions inside of this drum rack. So yeah, I like to kind of group the similar things together. That's how I use drum racks. So I'm using this here to just kind of put, you know, these are all kind of similar sounds and they're just kind of playing off each other. And the other thing is they don't play in like the most repetitive way. Like you get this loop the first time and then this is very different the second time and then it repeats. So it's like, you know, it kind of makes it just a little bit more alive than just having like, you know, that the whole time. And then we have these zaps, which I don't even tune those up. But those are very standard minimal house fare. And I made these with operators inside of a drum rack here. So what's happening is we have each one you can hear just like on a pad inside of the drum rack. And so we have a square wave one and a saw wave one. They're both made the same way. So what's happening here, the secret to the sound is basically a pitch envelope. What we're doing is we have this short square wave. You know, it's got a short volume envelope, and then I just have it going through a pitch envelope, which just goes from high to low really quickly. And then you get that. And then same thing over here, but just with a saw wave. And yeah, these are like used in a lot of these tracks, but it's just a nice little element because it doesn't take up too much space, and it's a very fresh sound, I think. And you can hear those are just adding some little like background things. Then we have this percussion. Just like a little after the clap there. You know, just another sort of background element. We have this roll, which actually kind of plays off of that. You can hear, you know, just some like little breakbeat percussion. Always sounds nice in a track like this. And then we have this bongo down here. So you can hear what this is, so it's a bongo sample. And then what I'm doing is I'm putting it through some echo here, just like an eighth note, doot, 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 like that. And then we're getting cool rhythms because like we have a 16th note there, there's eighth notes, another 16th note. But then what's happening is it's going through a bandpass filter, which is being automated. It's not being automated, but it has an LFO kind of moving it around like an automation. So you just kind of have this like morphing little percussion sound here with the delays. And then it's going through some drum busts. But yeah, it's a nice way to kind of make some more like lively percussion, you know? It doesn't just sound like something that's just like a really repetitive like program percussion. It has more life because of that bandpass. And then on the group of all that percussion, we just got some drum busts. Here's without it. And then with it, the one thing that I think you can really hear this exemplifies is like without it, honestly, this percussion doesn't really sound that together. Like even if I turn the volume up, it's like not really all in the same place, you know? It's just kind of a collection of sounds. But then when you turn the drum bus on, it all sounds like it's like fitting into the same place. It all sounds like it comes from the same sort of like family of sounds. And that's not because of the individual sounds. It's because of you putting it through processing like this that kind of gives it all a very even texture and makes it feel that way. Then we have this lead. So yeah, you can hear it's a really simple lead. It basically just plays this little lead line where it goes from F up to G, and then it's the exact same thing, but just -5, so C to D. You know, it's kind of like a cool call and response. That's something that I think is really important in dance music, is call and response. It's very important with the groove, and we have a ton of that happening. But then to also have the lead following that, I think is what can really tie it all together. And yeah, then we have the sampled chord. So you can hear this one's really simple. It's just this one sampled chord, and then I'm playing it across the keyboard. And it's only 2 notes. It's just C and F. So I have a long C here, a short F, and then C an octave up, which just goes like that, and then just a shorter F down there again. So, you know, it's a nice way to make it a little bit less repetitive. It just kind of plays, you know, this is more of like a background sort of pad sound. It's just adding some vibe. And we have like going through some reverb and some drum bus. And that also plays in the break. And then we have these little extra stabs here. So I'll turn off the echo so you can really hear them. So it's just these 2 little sounds. Like this is literally just a kalimba. And then like this little brass sound. And yeah, I just have those in this drum rack here with a bit of echo and reverb and then some drum bus and then a high pass filter to cut out the lows. So that's just kind of in there to add, you know, some little extra background musical kind of flavor. Because this style, it's very percussive, but you need to have a lot of this kind of stuff because it's also about how it's all working together musically. It's not just the rhythm here. And I think that can really make a great track from like the difference between a really good track and then a great track is usually the one that has a little bit better music theory stuff going on. Or not even just music theory, but just to have some musical stuff happening and have a really good groove, but then there's music on top of that that's really good. And the thing is, you might not even always notice these when you first hear it, but if I turn them off, good for the intro. But then, it just feels right to have these in here. And this is another thing with the break. You can notice this one plays a different pattern in the break than the drop. So that really helps as well, because then it feels like there's something different happening when the drop comes. And it's very subconscious, because you might not even always notice it, because you might not even be noticing this is happening in the background of the track. But it adds like a little change that really makes things feel fresh when you're hearing the track. And then the last thing down here is the effects, which start with the riser and the crash. So you can hear just like a short riser, that's all you want with the style. Just something that's some kind of cool sound design, like not just like a like EDM riser, but this is like this cool kind of like speeding up and slowing down sort of mechanical sound. And then we have the crash, and you notice everything drops out when that first crash hits. It just goes like that. So it's a nice way to kind of like have a silent moment right before the drop. I would even cut out that stab. And then it drops really strong because you have that moment of sort of like silence there. And also you can see like the crash is really simple, it's just a nice sound. We don't even have a reverb on it because you just want a quick shh. And then we have it. And then we just have this little vinyl noise. You can really hear this in the break. We're just adding some extra character to the background of the track. And yeah, there it is. So yeah, that is the video for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available right at the top of the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Every single one of you guys who picks up the samples and MIDI and presets and everything from this video is really helping to support me and help keep me going so I can keep making these videos. So yeah, thank you for all the support lately, guys. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.